couple of things while I'm here. I have prepared remarks, let me be clear. But I like conversations better than I like speeches. I don't know about y'all. So I want you to interrupt me at any point in time. Just raise your hand and ask me whatever, even if it's off the topic. I want you to ask me the question because, again, conversation is more important than anything. Now, I want to talk to you first of all about the differences between the county and the city because, God bless us, we get confused all the time as to where the county ends and where other things begin. So let me tell you a little bit about how I got here. I got here by running as a Democrat. That's who I am. I'm a Democrat, and I ran in a primary against 3 other individuals in order to stand in the general election against the incumbent J.J. Koch. My opponents were these folks, and if you don't recognize them, one of them's the picture right next to me, who's Tom Irvin, who's sitting right here. In the midst of the election, I'm talking about, I've never met Tom before in my life, okay? We became instant friends, running against each other. Now, I want to put that picture in your head. I mean, he came to me one time and says, your sign's down over here at this voting location. I'm like, dear God, there's a heck of a guy. I mean, who will even tell you as your opponent that your signs are down. And it's been a terrific relationship ever since. Now, we're 2 old white guys with beards, you know what I mean? And so we go to the county, and we've been confused as each other. Now, the sign says 39, we're at 40 today, okay? And yes, we do count, okay? So, it's been a fun time. Tom has taken, the lead on a number of things like child care and a number of other issues. And, it's like having 2 commissioners for one. Now, I have District 2. Now, District 2 is basically the northern end of the county. I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. I've done many things. You've heard a little bit about my law career. If you don't know, I've been against Cobert Bryant about 100 times. And in fact, I think, I'm ready for his trivia contest. Cobert, I hear you have a heck of a trivia knowledge. So anytime you want to hit me with one of those trivia questions, I'll see what I can do. I've been involved in a number of things. Like Cobert, I've been involved with trying to educate kids about the law. Cobert, for example, used to do a lot of mock trial for high school mock trial. I did high school mock trial, I did college mock trial, I did law school mock trial, I did moot court. It's a lot of fun to try and teach kids a little bit about the law itself. But I've been doing some crazy things too, like for example, I've ridden a bull. Did it to get the attention of a girl. You all know how that goes, right? I've done things like entered a demolition derby. That was fun back in the day. I'm a kiwi farmer. I grow kiwis. If you don't know, I have a farm up in Oregon, and I do that as well. I've walked the Camino. That means to say walk all the way across Spain. It's great fun. Now let me tell you a little bit about the differences between the county and the city. Now, the city has a population of about 1.3 million people. There are 14 council people on the city council. I mean, can you imagine trying to get, with the mayor, 15 people to agree to anything? I mean, it's quite challenging. On the commissioner's court, which is the county, there's only 5 of us. That's it, just 5. Okay? There's myself, there's Teresa Daniel, if you've all heard of her. There's Elba Garcia. I'm sure you all heard the next name, John Wiley Price. And I'm sure you've all heard the next name, Clay Jenkins. That's the group that I'm with at the county. And the mayor and the city council people, there's so many of them, it's hard to keep track of them all. Now, the county is much bigger than the city. It has a population of approximately 2.6 million. There are 4 county districts. Mine's at the northern end, and basically there are these, odd triangle shapes, out of the square that is Dallas County, and mine's at the northern end. This is kind of gives you an idea of the map of my district. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. There are parts of this that, Irving, for example, I'm part of that. I'm also part of Richardson and the like. Now, want to talk to you a little bit about the services that are provided. The services that are provided by the county is not the Dallas Police Department. That's not who we control. But we do have law enforcement. We have the sheriff, we have constables, we have the marshals, okay? Now the marshals are technically the fire marshals, but they also get to be law enforcement agencies. They're cops as well. And in fact, they become an instrumental part of Dallas County, and in fact, instrumental neighbors to you all with regard to the property that I recently purchased that I'm going to be talking about. Now, the Dallas County is in charge of other things. They're in charge of the civil and criminal courthouse. You know, we're not bosses of the judges. We're not bosses of the judges. But we are running the facility in which you would go to and have your trial. And so as a result, we make sure that the building is there, that it's run properly, things like that. We make sure that, you know, there's paper and computers that work for the various judiciary, stuff like that. We also have HHS, which is one of the biggest health organizations within the county. They make sure that you're immunized. Remember during COVID, everybody wanted to get vaccinated? HHS, that's who the ones who were running that particular show. You may recall that you saw Clay Jenkins all the time on the TV when COVID was going on. Why him? Why wasn't it somebody else? Why was it that it was the county judge? And the answer is, he's our chief health officer within the county. So if you're talking about immunizations, if you're talking about, you know, whether we're going to wear masks or not, if you're talking about whether we're going to shelter in place, he's the one that makes those decisions for us. Now there's other departments like the Dallas Juvenile Department. I'm talking about folks that have, you know, are under the age of 18 who go through the criminal process. There's a special one associated with juvenile. If you don't read the newspaper every day, well, you know, you might know that I've been involved heavily and associated with revisions to the juvenile department. I want to see reformations occur there. You know, there's some problems that we've had there, and I want to see those things fixed. We also run the elections. The elections department is part of Dallas County. And so, you know, where you vote, for example, in District 2, I make that decision. That's my decision, okay? Where all the voting locations are, I make those choices. For example, one of your neighbors is Hamilton Park. And Hamilton Park has not had a voting location the whole time. This whole time, never had it, okay? That seemed egregious to me that neighborhood wouldn't have any. So that's one of the things I did, is make sure that the church there within Hamilton Park would be one of the voting locations that we had. In fact, I had several changes with regard to voting locations that you saw perhaps this last time around. Where do most of you vote? Where do you vote? Where do you vote? Hamilton Park. You went to Hamilton Park. Yes. Right, good. How was it? Was it a good experience?
Very good.
Convenient?
Yes.
Terrific. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
What was the church over, I don't know what, just east of us where we voted for a long time?
On Shepherd.
They did an excellent job as well.
Oh, yes, they do, don't they? They're absolutely terrific. Sorry, my phone is ringing. I gotta turn this thing off. All right. There's a separately elected official within Dallas County. His name is John Warren. He's the clerk. He makes sure that all the paperwork is filed within the court system. But we're the ones who support him. Your taxes, you know that when you write your check to pay your property taxes, the guy's name that you write on that is John Ames. Don't worry, it's not going in his pocket. Let me be clear, if you own property anymore within Dallas County, we do not assess the value of your property, okay? Well, that's not us. Don't call me and say, hey, my house is too high in terms of its value. That is not me at all. That's a separate governmental entity altogether that does it. But John Ames and Dallas County is the one that will collect the taxes. That's who you pay the money to. And he's the one that makes sure that it gets properly taken care of from there. We take care of the jail. This is the biggest expense that we've got. It's huge, okay? It's about, 80% of our budget goes running our jail. It's a massive population. I mean, there are currently 6,635 people located within our jail. Let me give you an idea. I went to a conference for the state of Texas, and all the counties were there. I sat at a table, and there were 12 other people who were commissioners. And I said, what's your biggest problem? Well, it's our roads. What's your biggest problem? It's the mud district. Okay, good. And I said, well, how many people are in your district? And they said, 1,000. Wait, how many people are in your county? 5,000 in the county. And I'm like, holy moly, my jail is bigger than your entire county. So, we have to feed and house each one of these individuals. Now, let me be clear. Jail is not prison. There's a distinction, okay? Jail is where you go while you wait for your trial to be had. Prison is where you go after that determination. Many folks are released before they are to present themselves to the trial itself. They're free on bond, it's called. But some folks are just too dangerous to be able to release back into the community, and as a result, we hold on to those individuals. If you don't think that that jail is filled with mentally ill people, wow, there is a lot of mentally ill people there. And there's a huge number of homeless people that are located within our jail as well. Most of them cannot make bond. They're homeless. They got no money. And if they're arrested for burning down a church, for example, and they are taken to jail, they can probably not make that bond under any circumstances. If they're arrested for criminal trespass, which is most of the time what they're arrested for, the homeless, is criminal trespass. They're on somebody's property that they shouldn't be. They're arrested and they're brought to our jail, and it just balloons the population of our jail because they can't make bond. They just can't. Some of them don't even want to go sometimes because when it's really, really cold. All right, let's talk about District 2, okay? That's my district. That's, if you live here, I am your county commissioner, all right? But it is a massive district. I mean, you can see how far it goes. It goes all the way out to Irving, and it goes on the right all the way out to Richardson. If we were to talk about the number of house districts that I have, in other words, you know how you vote people to the house, the state house? I have a bunch of them. I mean, I've got 103, 105, 108, 112, and 115. I mean, you could put a zillion different House of Representatives within my district itself. I have 3 Senate districts. I have almost all of a whole bunch of the city council people within my district as well. I'm about the size of a congressional district, is about the size of the population that is within it. Okay, so let's talk about next door, shall we? All right. First of all, before I start launching it, that was my speech about city versus county, okay? Let's talk about next door. Do you all have any questions before I start talking about it? Okay, let me take you up on it, all right? So right next door, and what I'm talking about at Stoltz Road in Forest, was a piece of property that long before I got elected was looked at by Parkland Hospital. Parkland wanted to do a clinic, and they wanted to expand their clinics to various locations throughout the county. And the reason why is because, think about it, if you want to go to Parkland Hospital, how far do you have to go? You have to go a long ways. And preventative health care has become a thing. If I can prevent you from being sick up front, then you don't have to come to the hospital. Makes sense, right? And so Parkland looked at doing clinics throughout the entire county. And one of the places that they looked at putting a clinic was right next door to you all at Stoltz and Forest. And they had conversations with various neighborhood communities about that. And the answer was, oh, hell no. We don't want it. All right? That was the answer. They were concerned about homeless populations congregating around the clinic itself, and they were very worried that this would increase the homeless population. I disagreed with that, but still nonetheless, that was the decision. Parkland said, we're not coming unless we're wanted, is basically the way it went. And they abandoned the idea of putting a clinic there. Now, after that happened, I'm talking about all that happened before I ever got in office. I've only been in office for 2 years, to let you know. So, before I ever got into office, all that happened. And then when I come into office, literally the week, I'm still trying to figure out where the bathrooms are, you know, and they said, listen, we got a piece of property, and you might be interested in it. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this piece of property, right? Well, Parkland's not going to buy it. Now, let me be clear. Parkland didn't buy it. It was owned by the church, and it was owned by the individual that had a house there, right? And so, you know, no transaction had happened, but there had been this discussion associated with this property. What do you think about this piece of property? And I'm like, what do you want me to do with it? You know, I can't tell you what I would do with that particular piece of property. But there is a problem that exists in our community, and it's called affordable housing. Now, whenever you say those words, people start thinking about poor people houses, right? No! I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about firemen. I'm talking about nurses. They cannot afford houses within Dallas County. They simply cannot afford them. And as a result, for example, Richardson ISD, okay? This area is within Richardson ISD, even though it's the city of Dallas. I know that's confusing. It's confusing to me. You know, I'm in the business, and it's still confusing to me that Richardson ISD is in the city of Dallas, but that's the way that is, okay? So Richardson ISD is over this particular piece of property. And it astounded me when I talked to the folks at RISD that they had a problem getting teachers. You know why they have a problem getting teachers? Because they can't afford to live there. The people who teach in the community cannot afford a house. Now, that seemed to me to be a heinous idea. We have to do something about that. Now, if you don't know, during the time of COVID, there was a big push by the federal government to restart our economy. You know, everything got shut down. The stock market went, you all know about that, right? And everybody wasn't working, or there was a lot of unemployment. And as a result, the federal government decided to push dollars into state and local governments. You with me? And the idea was these entities, Dallas County, will be able to help the community restart its economy. And one of the things that was done before I even got into office was they divided it up by districts. So each one of us had some. And I was able to get $2.5 million of these COVID dollars. And I said to myself, boy, it would sure be nice if I bought this piece of land with those dollars, and then I built some houses on it, and then I sold those houses to teachers who could afford it. And so that was the idea that came into my head, all right? So we went and did the discussion with the landowners. We went and had a conversation with the community, and I'm talking about all of y'all's neighbors. There's a big group called NINA, if you don't know. And man, are they active. Whew! You have never had a homeowners association that'll ride you like NINA will, okay? They call me every week. What's going on? What's happening? What are you doing? How are you doing? Okay? And so what they asked me was, all right, so what are you going to do? And I said, I want to put what's called workforce housing in this area. And here's who I'm going to sell it to. I'm going to sell it to teachers, and I'm going to sell it to first responders. These are the folks who I want to sell these houses to. Now, here's a little real estate. There's a lot of real estate people I know here, so you'll back me up on this. One of the biggest costs of building a place is land. Because you buy it, and it takes forever to build it. And in the meantime, you got to pay the VIG on it. You got to pay the note. You got to pay the interest. And in so doing, it'll kill you if you're a developer to buy land, and then you have to hold it as you get zoning done, as you get the water and sewer put in, and all these. You got to hold all these dollars associated with it, and in many instances, it can be half the cost of the home. When you're building it, it can be as much as half of the cost of the home. So I said, look, I think I can get what I call workforce housing at a reasonable price, because I'm going to buy the land, and then that land will then be given to the homeowner with a home on it. They still have to buy the house. You with me? The land comes for free, basically, but they gotta buy the house. And so I said, let's do that. Then came the zoning. Holy moly, then came the zoning, all right? What can I do here? And they said, well, you can put 10 houses up there. And I'm like, what? I can't, 10? That's not even a den. What else can I do? And they said, well, you can change the zoning, and you can get even more houses on there. And I said, well, how many can I get on there? And they said, well, if you turn it into an apartment complex, I can get you, a zillion places to live. And I said, I don't want an apartment, okay? I don't. I want single family homes. I want a porch on these houses. I want a driveway, and they said, well, if you put duplexes on there, I can get you a lot more homes. I don't want a duplex. I want single family homes that someone can live in. Tom and I were having a conversation the other day. We were saying, how big was your first house? Okay? How big was your first house? Anybody remember how big their first house was? Mine was 1,400 square feet. 16. How big was yours, Tom?
Mine was
12, 15, 16. What do you think? Tobert, how big was yours?
1,300.
1,300, okay? This is the size of the house that I'm looking for, okay? I'm looking for, somewhere above 1,200, less than 2,200 square feet is what I'm looking for, all right? Now, in order to fit enough pieces of property on it, I had to ask for certain types of zoning. And zoning has levels of zoning, right? And the smallest one you can get to is what's called an R5, 5,000 square feet, until you get to townhomes. And townhomes gets even smaller per unit. The homes I want to build on, I want to make my piece of property 4,500 square feet of land. I'm talking about land, not the building, okay? 4,500 square feet. Why do I want it to be 4,500 square feet? And the answer is because there's a creek behind it, okay? You all know where that creek is, right? Right back there. I can't build in the creek. I cannot build in the creek. That's called floodplain, and I'm not allowed to do it. So even though the house, the square footage of a property is 4,500 square feet, it's not really. It's a lot bigger than that because it's going into a creek. I can't build on it. I can't declare that as part of the building space, right? So now I have to get under 5,000 square feet, that's the smallest, and I have to get above the townhouse. There isn't such a thing within the city. So here's the deal, I say. I'm going to call the zoning townhomes, but I'm going to put a deed restriction on the piece of property that says it can only be single-family dwelling that is built. You with me? So in other words, I'm building my own crack in the zoning. So you might see a sign that says zoning for townhomes. I'm building single-family dwellings there, okay? That's all I'm building there. And I've got a deed restriction that says so, all right? So that's the whole idea behind it. This is what the current, now it changes all the time, this bottom picture is what it's going to look like. See all the single-family dwellings that are around it? I'm going to build this road that goes back into the back. We've got 3 houses right off the road, and then there's one all the way in the back at the back corner. Now there's going to be some rules associated with these houses. Here's one of the things I worried about. I'm worried about, cousin Bob trying to make a deal. And what I'm talking about there is this. There's a teacher. She lives in RISD. And Cousin Bob says, you know what, Susie, here's what we're going to do. You're going to buy that house, but then after you buy it, you're going to sell it to me, and we're all going to make a bunch of money. You with me? I didn't want that to happen at all. Because here's what happens. These houses will probably have a market value of about $700,000 when I get done building. Okay? Now it's going to cost me about $350,000 to build it. Now I'm not paying for that. Let me be clear. I've got a developer who's going to do the developer thing and put out the dollars. He gets a fee for every house he builds. But it's going to cost me about $350,000. So that means the teacher can come in and buy one of these units for $350,000 and have a $700,000 value. Not bad, right? I mean, that's a good deal. And you can see Cousin Bob saying, well, let's do that. You know what I mean? You, Susie, go buy it, you sell it to me, and then we'll flip it for $700,000. No. There's a 7-year requirement. You have to live in the house for 7 years before you can ever turn it again. So there's not going to be these instant turnings. You with me? And the other thing that I want to make sure that happens is that teachers build equity, that there's wealth building for teachers. This is incredibly important, that there's wealth building. I don't know about you all, but real estate, my home, was one of the best investments I ever made. I mean, as I lived in it, I built bigger houses and moved to the bigger house. As I got older, I sold those and moved to smaller houses and made money on it every time. I want that scenario for teachers. I want them to have wealth building as a result of what I'm doing. But I also want to make sure that it's not flipped instantly. Here's the other provision I'm going to put on it. You can't rent it. Because I don't want Susie showing up and saying, there's an Airbnb. No, you can't rent it. So this is going to be your first home as a teacher, coming in, buying it, and by so doing, will be able to build wealth. What are some of the other benefits of doing this? I don't know if you noticed, but there was kind of a homeless population over there. Not kind of. It was huge. Yeah, still is. It's better, I think. Do you think it's better? No? Okay. Good to know. All right. Let me tell you that story. So when I'm thinking about buying the land, I decide that I'm going to go over there and check out what's going on. And the first thing that happens when I go over there is there's a lot of homeless on this piece of property. What's up with that? So we decide to check out who the homeless are over there. And the first thing that happens is that I send one of my staff members, his name is Todd, he's a young guy, he's 30-something years old, right? And he goes over there to check him out, see what's going on, what's happening with this homeless population. It was freezing the time that Tom went out there. He left his wife in the car. This is not a good idea, by the way, because the phone's blowing up on him. Where are you? Come on back. You know, what are you doing? And if you don't know Tom, let me tell you about my jealous rage about Tom. Everybody likes him, okay? Everybody knows him, and he can eat ice cream and not gain any weight. Do you feel my rage? Well, because he's a nice guy, he's having great conversations with the homeless, and he gets an idea of the community as well. And then I decide I'm going to go out there. And I decide I'm going at midnight. And the reason why is because I'm really going to get an idea of the tent population that's there. I can count the number of tents. Not human beings, but I can count tents. And as I'm out there counting tents, a gentleman comes up to me, and he is all together. And what I mean to say by that is, he's not nuts, okay? He's together. Who is he? He's a veteran. He cannot afford to live in a home or an apartment in any type of situation. And I'm talking to him about his situation, and I say, listen, I'm the county commissioner. Come with me. I can get you services, right? I can get you into a home. Come with me. I'm asking him to come with me at midnight, right? It's freezing out. And he says, no. And I was astounded by that. I was like, don't you think that if you said to a homeless person, come with me, I'll get you a house, I'll take care of you, that they'll come? No! Why is that? And he says these words, I'm homeless. He's very articulate, by the way. I'm homeless. I want you to think about that, Commissioner. That means my family doesn't love me anymore and my friends don't love me anymore. These people do. I'm staying with them. It's a community. Not only is it a community, it's a community probably stronger than anyone you've ever heard of. Because then I point at a tent over here that's got a light on and I say, there's a light on over there, can I talk to those people? And he says, no, that's our storage unit. Jeez. You have a storage unit? And so now I'm curious about the storage unit. How is this divided up? Is it divided up per person? Because I'm going to do my head count real quick. You know, I'm thinking I got my answer of how many people are here by how many square feet there are in this tent. And he says, no, it's based upon need. Okay, I want you to put that picture in your head. You go to your neighbors, Mike, okay, and you say, hey, let's get us a storage unit, and it's going to be based upon what the needs of the people are, as opposed to a percentage basis. Oh, hell no, is the answer. But these people do it that way because they're a stronger community. So to remove that homeless community from this area, I'm going to have to move all of them. There is going to be not a possibility to pick off one at a time. I might be able to move the entire community by just rousting them out. I might be able to accomplish that task. But they would just move down the road to some other place, and I haven't solved homelessness by any means. But that gives you an idea of who those folks are that are neighbors to you. Now listen, I'm not trying to represent to you that every one of those people in that community was like the guy I was talking about, a very well put together VA guy. That ain't the case, okay? There's a lot of people who are hooked on drugs, not the least of which is meth. And they have a community themselves because they all care about each other, and they also have an economic desire to be together because they're buying and selling from each other various things. But in order to get them to social services, it's going to be required that we scoop them up and we put them someplace, probably together, with wraparound social services and good security to make sure that crime isn't occurring, that drugs aren't being sold, and that they have good mental health. These are some of the things that are needed. Yeah?
Did you ever get a number?
Yeah. In that particular area, there was 45. And I'm talking about the trail up through the church down to 75. Okay? And if you're wondering how they support themselves, go to 75 and Forest Lane and you'll see the panhandlers. They're providing for the community. They have a job, by the way. Don't give them money. Okay? Don't. I know that sounds cold. Give money, but give it to Housing Forward. Give it to Habitat for Humanity. Give your dollars. I'm begging you to give your dollars. But give it to people who can now take them and put them into a community and social services. Don't hand your money to the guy at the corner, and the reason why is because he is supporting the fact that there is a tent community nearby. That's what he is doing. That's his job. So, that's my advice to you. Okay? So yeah, I counted it as about 45. I think that number is less now, and I'm kind of surprised to hear you all say that it hasn't changed. Go ahead.
It's up Coit.
Coit.
Between Costco
Yep.
and there, we saw maybe 25 people
Yep.
up there.
I agree with that. Different community.
Can you repeat it, Andy?
Yeah, sure. She's talking about Coit to 635. Am I right? Coit, Forest, Coit, 635, that neighborhood, right? Different community.
It's the hill coming
Yep.
down to Coit and Forest.
Same creek, by the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they live in the creek bed down there. But it's a different group of people. That's a different community, as it were. But yes, it does need to be fixed. So we bought the property, right? Now I realize I've got a homeless problem. associated with that property. And we're trying to get the bulldozing permit from the city. Don't forget, I'm the county, right? I just don't show up to the city and say, hey, give me a bulldozer permit. It takes forever, just like it does if you're a developer. And so I, asked for the bulldozer permit, and it took forever to get the demolition permit. Forever, because it's the government, I'm here to help. And while we did that, there was a fire. And the fire happened within the church itself. I am certain, with a certainty, that that was the homeless folks that had ignited that fire. I cannot tell you this, I don't know, is the answer. Whether they were just setting a sterno or something like that to keep themselves warm, or whether they were trying to start up a meth lab. I don't know, is the answer. But as soon as that fire happened, I called Kathy Stewart, who is the city council person for this area, and who's a great person, by the way. So Kathy, the place is burning. I'm gonna put it out. Listen, give me that darn bulldozer permit, because I need to get this thing down. And her answer was, I'll be back with you this afternoon. And sure enough, that afternoon I get the permit and we flatten the building as fast as we can. Since we have done that, I put a fire marshal out there. And the fire marshal has been there every day until the whole building went down, and I just relieved them from their duties, okay? But while that fire marshal was there, he says there was no homeless community in that property. I'm not saying anywhere in the area, I'm saying in that property. The other thing I asked to have happen is having Housing Forward and a couple of other housing agencies who can remove communities all at a time to come give me a hand. And if you haven't seen, this is my observation, there are very few people under Forest Lane Bridge lately. And I'm talking about in the last few weeks. I'm not talking about for a long time. They're just not there as much. Now sometimes they show up, and when they do, I call my fire marshal and I say, they're back. You know what I mean? See if we can't move them along and get them into shelter or into permanent supportive housing. Okay? Any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned first home for a teacher. Are retired teachers also going to be eligible in first responders?
Yes is the answer. A retired teacher will be able to purchase that house. Yes. And first responders. Yes, is the short answer. Yes?
Before you started talking about that property, you mentioned a neighborhood association that was very active.
Nina.
What does that involve include?
Not now.
Essentially from Forest South to Boyle?
Yeah, I would think that's right.
Something like that?
All
Yeah.
these houses,
Or Park?
Yeah,
all these houses.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's right.
They usually meet at the Stillman Library on, in fact, there's going to be a meeting January 25th, a week from Saturday. I think you're always welcome to come attend.
You'll be hearing the same thing. I've only addressed them about 8 times now.
Yes.
I'll tell you about one of those meetings. It's kind of an amusing story. But when I first started doing this, Nina called me up and said, we want to have a community meeting. Now these folks are like you, they will show up to meetings, okay? And in fact, they show up to meetings like this, oh, we're going to do, change the code for the organization. Well, as soon as you start doing that, nobody shows up to those meetings, right? Except for, a few folks. Well, 40 people at that meeting, okay? And then they say, okay, Andy, we want you to come and talk to us about buying this property. 100 people showed up to that meeting. And about 10 of them I would describe as having pitchforks and torches, They were there to burn me down, you know what I mean? Not in my neighborhood. You are not doing this, right? And after I got done with the speech, I feel like, and Tom could correct me, that I turned to almost every one of them saying, no, this is a good plan. What else are you going to put there? Even if I turned it into a park, right? If I just said, put some grass down, we'll get you a nice soccer field, the homeless would occupy it. That's what would happen to a park. And now I would have a homeless encampment and a park together. That's what I would have. But I think they realized, that most of the detractors, that, you know, if we put houses there and a community there, and they will police their own community and say, no, move on, or let's get these folks to proper shelter or to permanent supportive housing. You know, we even held a little vote afterwards at the NINA meeting. I'm talking about, all I heard from were all the naysayers, right? There's 100 people at the meeting, and there's about 5 people there going, no, you know, everything I say, no, right? And then we held a vote, and it was like 95-5, yes. And wow, all I heard was from the no's, you know what I mean? And you come to find out the whole community was very supportive of it. So that's the story of next door. Ask me more questions, you all have got good ones.
I have a question.
Yeah, good.
I don't have anything against retired teachers. My mom's one. But if the goal is to bring
Teachers.
people that are, teachers in to work in the community, or
Yep.
firefighters or police or whatever for that community, how is that going to?
Yep, I'll tell you how I'm going to do that, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is market to teachers first, okay? Now, I cannot refuse a home if a retired teacher shows up. I can't refuse it, right? That's not legal for me to do. But what I can do is market. And so what I'm going to do is go to RISD first. And I'm going to say, make sure that your teachers know that this is available to them, and hopefully they'll buy it up before anything else happens. If that doesn't happen, then I'm going to go to Plano ISD and DISD and say, I've got more homes for teachers. Why don't you see if anybody wants them and come buy them up? By the time I get done marketing to RISD and Plano ISD and DISD, those homes will be bought. So I can't refuse it is the answer, but I stand here with lots of confidence saying there will be a bunch of teachers in there. You know?
Have you had any discussions with local banks or other lending institutions for them as far as their down payments and all that they're going to need?
Not directly. The developer has. In other words, I'm contracting with a developer to build these buildings for me, and they say that they have those connections and that they will make sure that they get proper programs that are available for teachers and first buyers. That answer your question?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
good. Yeah.
Can I assume that any children living in these homes will feed into Stokes Road if they're elementary?
I believe that's true.
Question?
Yeah, sure. Well, the kids who live in that community, will they feed into Stoltz Elementary? I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And if you didn't see, I've got a little park here. I put a playground in it, right here in this corner where it bends. There's a little playground there. And a very nice little walking trail that runs around the place is what I have in mind. Okay? I'm going to try and beautify the ditch, as it were. It's kind of ugly as it stands right now. I'm going to try and beautify that.
Would there be any hope or maybe any effort or support for that general area that now is, for example, I would not use the train station there. I would not feel comfortable boarding the train or leaving my vehicle there just because of the homeless population. And the next door gas station, Quick Stop, is gone under, and it's just a negative situation there. Would there be, in trying to support this neighborhood, hopefully would that help the area around it, general public area around it?
I believe so, is the answer. The more you push on that and make it where the homeless can't be there, they will go someplace else is the answer. I'm not solving homelessness, but I'm going to keep it off this area. But Kathy Stewart has promised a lot more police involvement there. And again, let me be clear. There's a delineation between county and city, right? The police department is the city, so that would be your council person, who would be Kathy Stewart.
The back part of that property close to the creek seems to be very low. Is there a flood danger there?
Oh yeah, is the answer. That's the reason why I can't build the entire property. You'll see that on this map right here, you can see where the trail is. That's basically the floodplain too. Okay? So anything between the property and what says Dart Station, that's flood, is the answer. Now, am I worried about the property itself, the homes being flooded? No, because I'm above the flood zone there. I'm above the 100-year floodplain there. And it has the same risk as this place, basically. Okay? Yeah.
Andy, what is it possible to have a current timeline? And if we were to say, what is the status of the project today and in the coming months? And also, what support, if any, would your constituents in this area, such as ourselves, have?
Okay,
Or be
so
able
the question was timeline. Give me the timeline for this place. And the answer is, we are currently in zoning right now, trying to get into that crack that I described before so that I can put these 30 houses there. I have no idea how long that's going to take, but I am told approximately 4 to 6 months to finish zoning. Once I get zoning done, hammers fly, okay? I'm going to start putting in the roads, stuff like that. It is my goal to be done by the time I'm up for election again. This is my goal, okay? And I'm up in 2 years. Let me be clear. I mean, November, not this coming November, but the one after that, that's my election, okay? And I want to see these houses up and running at that time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and let me ask you a follow-up if I could.
Yeah.
In terms of the marketing, will that include what we call residential real estate brokers or sales people?
No, it will be actually me doing the marketing. I mean, my office will be the ones pushing it for the very reason that we were just talking about. You know what I mean? If I leave it to somebody else, I'm worried that it'll get just marketed. You know what I mean? And anybody can come and buy. I want to be the one pushing to RISD.
Well, going back, and maybe I missed this, but going back to the financial ability, the relief funds to get us back on track after the pandemic, and your slice was this some $2+ million?
To buy the land.
Okay. But in your humongous district, what turns you on to using those funds for this?
Yeah, and the answer was the realization, housing is one of the biggest issues we've got. Homelessness is one of the biggest issues I got. I saw this as a double hammer on 2 different issues. The homelessness in this area, because by building these homes, I'm going to get communities to be able to move, homeless communities to be able to move. Second, I can make sure that teachers are able to afford houses. And it kind of goes to my next topic, which is the Esperanza Center. And I'm only going to take a short time on that. Did I answer your question?
Yes, but when you say teachers, that includes all first responders, firefighters,
Yep.
police?
Yeah, teachers first. Let me be clear. I'm going to market the teachers first. But yes, if I can't get enough through there, I'm going to go to first responders. But if the first responder shows up, if a cop says they want one of those houses, my answer is going to be, oh, heck yes. Is going to be my answer. Yeah.
If I might, the county decided that we needed more affordable housing, workforce housing, and so across the county with the ARP funds, we have built almost 2,000 homes. Some of those are multifamily, but this has been a county-wide effort, not just our district.
True. This is my end of that deal. All right. So yeah.
The closest neighbor will be the Temple. Have you touched base with them?
Oh, yeah.
Get their reaction. Are they on board?
They are.
Okay.
Yep.
A little more traffic, but I don't see it really affecting.
No. They've actually been quite encouraged. A guy by the name of Newt, who's over there, has been my point of contact, and he's been very supportive.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to talk to you about one other thing, and it's kind of related, and it's about the Adobe Community Center. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about this. It's again RISD, which is City of Dallas, has a lot of City of Dallas, and is right near here, is the answer, has had a problem. They had a huge decrease in the number of kids in their ISDs. And no one knows where they went. It was before COVID, they had X number. Afterwards, they had a huge number less. And no one knows where they went. it's very disturbing to me that no one knows what happened to those kids. But gone they are. And RISD had to shut down 4 elementary schools. Now, one of these schools was called the Dobie Elementary School. It's located in the heart of the Esperanza District. This is the Esperanza District. It's 75, 635, Spring Valley. You get the idea, right? This is where it's located. And this is a very poor neighborhood. Very, very poor. Latino, very poor. Lots and lots of apartments. I mean, just apartment after apartment after apartment. And the heart of the community was the elementary school, because these were young Latinos who were occupying these apartments, and they were sending their kids to Dobie Elementary. And after COVID, RISD decided to shut this place down, and as a result, take the heart out of the community. And this was disturbing to me, that that was going to happen. And so I decided that I wanted the school, that I wanted to do something with that school, that that school could be repurposed for something other than the elementary school itself. So I went to RISD, Tom and I did, and we asked them for the school. And their answer was, let me get this straight, you're going to take the school off our hands, we don't have to maintain it anymore, we don't have to provide security for it, we don't have to make sure that it isn't crumbling and falling apart, we don't have to mow the lawn. Yes. And their answer was, heck yes, let me get you that. So for $10, I bought that school, all right? Now, the next thing that I realized is that I have 77,000 square feet, and what am I going to do with 77,000 square feet? And this made me nervous, and so what I decided to do was to try and put community organizations within it. And I also asked for help again from the city. This isn't Kathy Stewart now, this is Janie Schultz, who I'm asking for help from. She's terrific, by the way. And she says, yes, I will help you along these lines. She's going to take all the soccer fields around it, and she's going to turn it into a park. In the meantime, I'm going to take this 77,000 square feet, and I'm going to provide services that are cradle to grave located within it. Let me give you an idea. I'm going to say WIC. If you don't know, WIC helps people with prenatal care. So now, even before you're born, this community center is going to help you. And then when you are born, I'm going to put the LBU in it. This is a pediatric clinic. I'm going to have 3 doctors located within this community to take care of the little kids that are there. And then, when they get to be of an age where they can be taken care of by daycare, there's a daycare located here. Heck, it was a school. That's easy, right? And then if you go to school at the other locations that you're going to school, this will provide after-school care. And then I will also have Metro Care there for mental health services. I will have, hopefully, a local police operation there. And then I'll also have a senior center located there. That's pretty easy too, because you know what the seniors want? They want a nice big room and they want lunch. That's what they want. I got a cafeteria. So this is going to be a kind of a cradle to grave operation, a repurposing of the school itself. Just wanted to let you know that that's going on near your neighborhood as well. Do you all have any other questions for me? Yes?
Have you ever thought about being a gated community? And also, are you concerned about the traffic? Because there would be only one way in there off of the stops.
Yes, I'm worried about the traffic. I've considered a gate, but the gate would require a guard, and that would make an HOA necessary. I hate HOAs. Yes, ma'am. You had a question.
I put Dobie into my map.
Yeah.
It came up with Dobie pre-kindergarten in what looks like that school.
It is. That's what it's this year. It's now the pre-kindergarten. This year. Before that, it was elementary. So they're winding it down for this year.
We'll take over June 1st.
Yeah, June 1 is the day we take over. Right now, it's operating. It's operating as a school right now. Is there another? Yes, sir.
On Greenville Avenue,
Yeah.
north of Forest and just south of LBJ,
Yeah.
on the right side, there's a huge tract of land that's vacant. There was discussion about putting some sort of Bonton Farms community there.
Yep.
That fell through.
Tom, you know? I don't.
You don't know?
I don't.
No.
I'm saying if Tom knew.
You know the Catholic housing has taken over the extended stay and it now is permanent supportive housing.
I'm sorry, my hearing's bad.
Yeah, well, I'll do that for you. I'll do that for you. So it goes like this. He was saying, no, he didn't know what that was. But did you know that there is homeless, permanent supportive houses near here? And you don't even know it exists. Isn't that amazing? I'm talking about homeless people taken off the streets and put it into houses. And I'll tell you where it's located. Greenville and 635. Okay? There was an old extended stay there that was basically being run as a brothel. That's the only way I can describe it. Okay? It was a brothel. All right? Now it's extended stay. You know, the people who were operating it were still an extended stay hotel and saying, you know, whatever, and paying an hour's worth of time. But it was terrible, right? That area was really getting run down. So Catholic Housing bought it with county help, and that place has been converted into permanent supportive houses for homeless. And no one knows it's there. That's the best part about it. You don't even know it's there. I mean, that's how well that place is being run. You don't even know the homeless are there. It's great. All right. Any other question? Yes?
How big will the houses that you're building be?
Yep. Somewhere around 1,200 to 2,200 square feet, most of them under 2,000 square feet. As I get bigger on the one side, I can build bigger houses. That's the answer.
This is our 2-minute warning.
All right, good.
I know that this 75243 is one of the highest crime areas in the city.
Yep.
You said Kathy was going to support you with extra police and all that. What is your plan to keep the crime that's all around us? We feel very safe here.
Yep.
But we're surrounded by crime.
Yep. The answer is,
Crime out there.
yep. City is the one who takes care of police force, not me, right? I have to rely upon the city. The sheriff is the only police force I have. The sheriff is supposed to only patrol areas that are unincorporated within the city. In other words, not part of a city. That's all south, by the way. All south of 30 is where, and it's all floodplain, all of it, right? And that's all John Wiley Price's district, all of it. But, you know, that's my police force, and they're down south, basically. So I don't have a police force to say, let's go and inject ourselves here. I don't have it. It's not me. That's the city that has it. So the city is going to have the plan to help you with regard to pushing this. But there's an economic reason why there is crime here. And the answer, you're going to see, in theory, a decrease in crime.
We want to thank Commissioner Sommerman, don't we? And Andy, this has been very informative for us, I think, and we'd love for you to come back, you and Tom both. Thank you so much for kicking our Thursday off. We have gifts. Joe Nall established our coffee clutch, as Jerry informed us when we began, and he began a custom of presenting our speakers with a special medallion.
Lovely.
And we even have a supporting stand. So this should go front and center. Oh, very good. And then along came Dave Driscoll. Dave, stand up. Dave in his off hours custom makes wooden pins.
Oh my gosh.
So when you sign all of these deeds to our homeowners, please do a photo op with Dave Driscoll's coffee clutch pen.
Seriously, you make these?
Thank you so much, Tom and Andy, for coming to see us. I think we feel much more a part of your constituency, and we look forward to keeping abreast of all the developments. These are wonderful things that you've told us. So thank you again. Come back and see us. And we are officially adjourned.